Welcome to the Leading Movement Health Series. I'm your host, Phil Wagner, founder and CEO of Sparta Science. And Geno Auriemma is the head women's basketball coach at University of Connecticut since 1985. Now, coaches don't usually stay in one place for 39 years, but when you win 11 national championships, 9 coaches of the year, it really starts to solidify a legacy. And he also went on and is during that time has coached the USA women's team where he won 2 gold medals. Now, conviction about your leadership philosophy becomes really easy, or at least easier, when you're able to have this much success. But leadership is truly about the balance between this conviction, but also the ability to adapt. And college sports might have been changing as much as any industry over the last 5-10 years. We've got open transfers, we've got student athlete compensation. The youth sport market now has more revenue than the NBA or the NFL. So all these changes just makes it super exciting to have Coach on the show. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me.
So Coach, why is health, so important? You're seeing, you've seen over these years so many different athletes coming into the program. Why is health becoming increasingly, or at least different, for you as a leader?
I think it's there's 2 parts to that. One is the health of the student athletes that you're trying to recruit to come play for you. And then there's the mental health, physical health of the people who are entrusted with making sure that it all works. If you're a coach, obviously you're evaluated on wins and losses to a certain extent, even though there's a lot that goes into that that's out of your control. But you're evaluated on wins and losses. If you're a player, you're evaluated on your performance. Okay. You're either a first team All-American, you're first team All-Conference, you're a first kid off the bench, or you're a guy that doesn't play that much. But you're evaluated based on your performance. And then the performance staff, whether it be athletic trainers, strength and conditioning coaches, mental health people, team doctors, academic advisors, assistant coaches, anyone who touches these kids. Their world has changed, as you mentioned. So everyone's been affected by what's happened in the last 5-6 years. The most, it's exploded the most the last 5-6 years. And, you're trying to deal with your own stuff and in our lives, stuff goes on in our lives. And now you're trying to deal with kids whose lives are radically changing. And they've got people around them who are supposedly trying to manage that. But the people around them are trying to make money off these kids to a certain extent, or the parents or relatives are living vicariously through these kids and trying to make some sense of it, and some are more financially inclined than others. And the coaches now have to grapple with all this. So there's a big umbrella, it seems like, overall this, and the health, whether it's physical health and whether you can, the stress and everything that goes along with that, or the mental health of, the ongoing changes, and can you keep up? And your brain wants to explode, because every time you think you've got something figured out, something new comes along. And we don't make our own rules. We make our own rules internally, but we don't make our own rules. We don't have an organization of coaches that makes the rules. We have someone overlooking just women's basketball that makes the rules. We're kind of subjected to this large body, and the rules could be helpful, could be harmful. We don't even know, until after the fact. So, yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, there's
being here this long does give you a perspective, and it does put things in its proper place of how invested you are and how badly you want it to work. At the same time, there's this tendency to, hey, look, I've been here long enough. I've done it a certain way. and you're going to have to adapt to me. I'm not adapting to you. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening to this that are probably going, yeah, exactly. So I don't know what the answer is.
No, but I think you bring up a concept I actually have never heard before. And that's, almost like the leader's job is how do you navigate the individual's rules, so to speak, and then some sort of governing body or external set of rules that's more of an overarching umbrella, right? And then the leader's in the middle of like, okay, how do I navigate the organization between those two constructs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the demands on the players have changed, not so much from a coach's standpoint. Our demands of them have actually remained pretty consistent over the years. I mean, we bring you here, we give you X, you do Y. Okay, that's the way it's been for the whole 39 years that I've been here. You come here, supposedly you get an education, you get the best coaching, the best staff that we can assemble, and then you owe it to us, to yourself, to perform at the level that we think you can perform at in the classroom and on the court. So those demands have not changed that much. The demands on the players externally have changed tremendously. And again, we have no control over that, but we have to deal with that. So kids didn't have agents. Well, now they do. Okay. Well, I'm sure people in the workforce out there that are listening, or whether, you have a big, whether you're the U.S. military. I mean, as General Dempsey said, we have, it's 3 million employees.
Right.
You want to call them that. Right. And scattered all over the world. Or, you're a small business like my restaurant where I've got 25 people, or my team here where we travel with like 27, 28 people. Doesn't matter. You're still responsible for what happens within that organization. And my players now, they have agents. They have people representing them that maybe have their best interests at heart, maybe not. So now when you're talking to someone, let's go right to the health thing. And you say, okay, I need this kid to play. And then people tell you, well, the athletic trainer says she's good to go. The strength and conditioning people say she's good to go. But the people that are invested for the next phase of their career is saying, no. That kid's not playing. I said, well, where are you getting your information? Well, it's subjective. Like, I want the kid to play. My trainer wants him to play. Our strength and conditioning coach, our team doctors want him to play. And the kids now got conflicting reports. Who do I listen to? And we've never had to deal with that before, ever, until now.
Yeah, there's much more noise in a way for the player. And I think what's interesting is you mentioned it. Every organization is probably having to deal with that more than they used to, whether it's social media or unions or different aspects that have changed kind of what was almost a more linear process before, where the parties were just the coach, just the leader, and then just the athlete, just the employee. What are some tactics maybe that you found to limit some of that noise coming in?
First, for us, I've always prescribed to the theory that I have to acknowledge what you're going through first and foremost. I can't judge you for what you're going through. And Hootie's here. I mean, our strength and conditioning coach. I should call her our performance coach. And I've always said to the kids, I'm not judging you on who you are and what you are and what your life has been like for the last 18 years before you got here. I'm just telling you, this is the world that you were born into. This is the world you're being raised into. This is the world that envelops you and is way different than what I'm used to. So I can't say I know how you feel, because I don't. I've never been there. Okay. With my other kids in the past, I could say I've been there because it was very similar to what we all went through. I can't say that anymore. I know how you feel. No, because I don't know how you feel. Because you're being told every day how to feel by so many different entities. All right. So I have to acknowledge that, number one. I have to say, this is where you are. This is why you're here. And hopefully you're here because you want it to be different than the average world that's out there right now. So you say, well, there's a lot of noise. My social media thing is off the charts. Okay. Well, maybe you wanted to come here because we don't have liberal, hey, the social media thing, you can do whatever you want with that. No, we kind of keep an eye on that for you. So we're trying to eliminate all the things that get in the way. Can we eliminate all of them? No, we can't. Okay. And now you've got to choose. Which voice are you going to listen to? See, because those people have the outside people have no direct bearing on your success. They can only lead to your failure. They can't help you succeed. Meanwhile, everybody in this building is here to try to help you succeed. So we make it personal for them in terms of, I understand where you are, and I want to make it different for you than it is for other kids playing at other schools or other people trying to do the same thing you're doing, but they're doing it in a way that maybe is not beneficial for them. So once we do that, then the kids understand we're doing this for your benefit, not for ours. And I think so many leaders, so many employers understand that I've got to make money, and my way to make money and please my investors or whatever, boost my ego, is I've got to get these people to do what I want them to do for my benefit. Once they think that, it's over. Now they're only going to be working for you as long as they can't find a place that's better for them. So you always want to make it about, what can I do to help you? Because if I make you better, if I make you stronger, if I make you more self-reliant, I build up your expertise, that makes you better. You're happy, and you're making me better. So in a selfish way, yes, but it can't be so one-sided where you don't like it here, get out. Those days are gone. Even though it's still true, you don't like it here, you can leave. Nobody's holding a gun to your head, making you work here or making you play here. That's why I get a kick out of when people say, I demand, like there's a thing in the Ivy League right now, somebody's suing the Ivy League why we don't have scholarships. Yo, dude, nobody made you come here.
Yeah.
If you want a scholarship, go get a scholarship. Obviously, you probably weren't good enough to get a scholarship, I guess. So
yes.
It's still that mentality now that, and it's tough to navigate, much tougher. But your original question, yeah, I want to make it personal. I want that person to be here because of the people here, because of me and my staff, as opposed to I'm here at UConn and wow, don't we have a great library? And isn't our psychology department unbelievable?
Yeah, in a way, a lot of kind of what you're hinting at is educating the individuals. Once you acknowledge, help them acknowledge you and not judge that experience, but you're really educating that everything's a choice, right? And you're not a victim. And certainly folks that choose to go to an Ivy League are not victims by any means, right? And there's other options they could have chosen, and even today they can choose, right? And to not play that card of, hey, why aren't we getting X, as opposed to like, well, why don't I choose something else if that's truly what I want?
Yeah, and that's the part that I think is really, really difficult for coaches right now and employers, is this this idea that it's me against you. Okay, that you came to play for me, or you came to work for me, but now you want to dictate how I run my company. And if you don't think you're getting your fair share of what you deserve, that the company should change. The coaches should change. Well, it's pick and choose your battles. What are you saying is unfair about your working conditions? your playing conditions? Are we not providing you with tutors to help you academically? Well, then that's a problem. You've got a legitimate beef there. You know? Are we not providing you with the best medical care? Are we not helping you in a way that it makes you feel empowered that like, hey, I'm getting better here and I want to be here? Hey, I get that. I get that. And that's our job. And we have to deliver on that promise that that's what we're going to do for you. But this idea, though, that you're right, I'm a victim of this system. Well, there's a lot of different systems out there, to your point.
Yeah.
If you feel like a victim in this system, go find another system where you don't feel like a victim. But chances are when you go there, you're going to be a victim there as well, because you look at yourself as a victim.
Yeah,
you act like one, you treat yourself like one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a great quote, no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, for us now, it's, do we also have to be careful what we say now? Because if it gets misinterpreted, then you face the backlash of that. No one ever says to the player, are you sure that's what coach said? Are you sure that's what your employer said? So now what? We have to record every single conversation that we had because we can't trust each other. So it goes down all these rabbit holes, and you really, again, I go back to, it starts with, can you make that person buy into you as the reason they're there, as opposed to the organization, as opposed to the school? Because if they're only there for the school, I don't think that's a tight enough bond to keep them there. You raise kids. Hey, I have to stay here because it's my mom and dad. No, they don't have to stay there because it's their mom and dad. They're out the first chance they get if they didn't have a positive experience growing up with mom and dad. So it's still about making people feel like they want to be part of what we have.
Yeah, and I know, the time you have and have provided is always, we're super grateful, and just want to, for the listeners, kind of before we wrap up here, just summarize some of the key take homes for them. And I think one thing that you really acknowledged and clarified for me is a big part of a leader's job is how to navigate the internal rules of the individual with those larger external rules of some governing body or external source, and the leader's kind of in the middle when it comes to leading organizations. And then the second one is how important it is to connect personally in a way that acknowledges, hey, I know you're going through this, but not judge it because you haven't been there. No one has been in someone else's shoes, but trying to acknowledge that and judge that builds that credibility for the relationship. And then the last aspect is that we all have choices, and if things are not what you want, you have a choice, right? To change how you go about it, how you perceive it, or change where you are, as opposed to saying, hey, this happened to me, and I'm the victim and I need these things because it's not what I wanted. Right. But really the individual can change that.
Yeah. You summed it up, perfectly. That's why you're doing what you're doing. And I'm sitting over here trying to figure out how to coach basketball. But
well, theory is a lot easier. Summarizing theories is much easier than actually executing.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good summary of what we're dealing with and what we're dealing with, whether it's in sports or whether it's in business. We as people that have been entrusted into this leadership world are trying to navigate it just like the players are trying to navigate it. And one thing that I say to my recruits, and probably people listening out there, you say to your employees during the hiring process, is you ask them, okay, tell me what it is you want. Tell me what it is that you would expect if you come to work for me, which basically this is what this is.
Yeah.
if you come and work for me, what would you expect to happen to you? Tell me. Tell me how you see this going over the next 3 or 4 years. 4 years from now, you're going to look back. What would you like to have seen happen for you personally, for our organization? Tell me. And you can learn a lot about what they say. You know, if it's more individualistic, less team oriented, you know, you get a sense for this person. All right. So once they tell you this is what I would want in my dream world, okay, then I say to you, all right, well, since I've been there and done that and taken kids from where you're sitting to where you want to be, you're going to have to do everything I tell you. No questions asked. Understand? And I don't want your parents trying to help me coach you. All right. So here's how this works. You promise me that you're going to do X, Y, Z. I promise you that I'm going to do X, Y, Z. If you do your part and I do my part, and you don't let the outside influences get in the middle of that, how could this not work? Because it's a contract. You're going to do the best you can do. Will it be good enough? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to do the best that I can do. Is it going to be good enough for you? Maybe, maybe not. But at least we have a shot. Once you bring that third party in, and in our case, it's the parents, let's say. So we're going to sign a contract. You're going to promise to do this. I'm going to promise to do this. And your parents are going to stay out of it. If we can do those 3 things, the chances of it working out exactly the way you want are tremendous. If any of those 3 things get whacked out, it's not going to work. So you lay it out for them so they know. And then here's the other thing that you can tell your employees and tell the players all the time. I'm not responsible for your success. I'm not. I'm not responsible for your failure unless I actively put you in a situation you can't succeed in. But why would I do that? I'm trying to win games. I'm going to put you in the best position that I can to win games. That's best for you as well. So
that's against that me against you principle. Yeah, we've got to eliminate as leaders.
Yeah, it's not me against you. I'm doing what's best for you because it's also best for us. Okay. So then when you say that and you say, if you succeed here, it's because you did it. I gave you, you just built the best sandcastle in the history of sandcastles. What did I do? Well, I gave you a little box with sand in it. And you just did the most incredible thing with it. Okay. So I'm giving to give you the space and the knowledge. You have to do the rest. Your success is going to be based on your talent and your efforts. My job is to put you in a position for you to accomplish that. If you don't make the greatest sandcastle, but you make a pretty good one, that's pretty good. If all you do is move sand around and it looks exactly like it did before you got into that sandbox, that's not my fault. I tried. I gave you everything I had. You just didn't want to build a sandcastle. That's not what you were interested in. You wanted somebody to come in and build a nice sandcastle, leave, and then when I come over, go, Coach, look what I did. No, you're lying, dude.
Yeah, and it's a pretty succinct way to summarize leadership is to give people the tools and the space so they can succeed. And it's not doing it for them.
Yeah, and it's not standing behind them, cracking the whip. The best jockeys, they don't use the whip. They have a connection with the horse, and that horse is running, and they may need a little nudge once in a while. But I think if you got to whip it day after day after day after day, you're going to lose that person, and you're going to lose a sense of yourself because then you become a guy that just wants to whip everything into shape. And it's got to be. You told me what you want. We agreed on how we were going to do it. And now you have to do your part and I'll do my part. And if we don't accomplish it, but we get close, we still did a damn good job.
Yeah, and that verbal contract right at the onset, to clarify, is a huge part of that expectation.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in college basketball right now, there's no written contract. There's a written contract where I have to give you a scholarship. I've got to provide you with everything. You know, if you had to pay for what I give you, it would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this idea that players are indentured servants and, you know, they're being taken advantage of and they're being exploited, that is taught by people who've never played at this level or coached at this level. If you had to pay for what I give you, okay, the scholarship that's here, okay, so that's 200 and some grand a year. The best medical care, how much would that cost you? The best athletic trainers, how much would that cost you? The best strength and conditioning people, what would that cost? Putting you on national television 5 times, 29, 39 times a year, 5 times a month. What would that cost you to do that? Flying you first class everywhere you go on a charter. Staying at 4 or 5-star hotels. If you personally had to pay for all that, what would that cost you? So for you to say you're a victim and now you say, well, I'm going to win a lot of games for you, coach, and you're going to make millions of dollars. Correct. Some of you, not all of you. All right. So now you get into this idea finally that people all want to be treated equal. There's no such thing as treated equal in the world. There's fairly. Equality doesn't exist in the world.
Great
People
distinction.
are not created equal.
Great
so
distinction.
Stop asking for equality. You need to be treated fairly.
Yeah, and I think one thing you left out too, which I know you're aware of, is, you know, at least for us as a company, we hire student athletes because we know they've gone through the training from leaders such as yourself that know how to work in a team, that know how to deal with adversity. So you're coming out of college even after the game, prepared to go work in business or other areas because you've had all these experiences that you, in a lot of cases, haven't had to pay for. Where you do executive training in the real world or job training, you pay for that. It's expensive, but you've gotten that as a student athlete too.
100%, 100%. What they're going to give us is huge. And what we're giving them is, and I tell them all the time, you're going to get a lot more from us, generally speaking, than we're going to get from you. Except for 2 or 3 of you that are going to become superstars because that's who you are. The other 7 of you, you're going to help us tremendously, but we're going to do more for you than you're going to do for us. So there you have it.
Coach, thank you for the time.
I enjoyed it. I should do this more often. You know, it reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, leadership is ultimately, you know, a huge key to your success and to the player's success, both in the sport but beyond the game.
Yeah, it's lifetime. We're teaching lifetime things.
Well said.
Thank you.